Oregon, by far the most dominant team in college football during the regular season. Ohio State has taken that mantle and ran with it after demolishing Tennessee and demolishing Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I mean, that was just you talk about a transition of a team and going from conservative to aggressive and understanding who they are really, really quickly. Ohio State did it. And poor Oregon, man, great season. This is why we extended the playoffs. This is why we did this, so you could get teams in the mix that could find themselves, that could get hot. We've talked about that. Now, Ohio State lost late to Michigan, but had several weeks to sit and wait and stew, and they came out. And my goodness, man, the Ducks got cooked.
That's a good line. I'd asked before the playoff if there was a QB that could go on the Joe Flacco-esque run, and it's Will Howard right now. And it helps when you have the biggest superhuman
freakazoid
probably in the game. I mean, now granted, next week's going to be a great matchup, or next week's going to be a great matchup for them against Texas. But that Jeremiah Smith he's the number one pick in the draft if he declared. He's that
like
good.
Right now. Like right now as an 18-year-old. Yeah. And kudos to them, by the way, for like, here's the thing. When you, again, we talked about this, Brent, in the preview show. When you watched Ohio State, they kept him at the X position, just called the X position. They kept him out wide. They did not move him around. You saw the benefits against Tennessee. You're seeing the benefits against Oregon, right? That double move against, what do you get? You get your guy lined up against the safety. That guy running full speed at a safety is a mismatch. That guy in a jump ball situation is a mismatch. Jeremiah Smith, he had 118 in the first quarter. Like I wrote down Will Howard in his start. You talk about Will Howard. He had 212 passing in the first quarter. Jeremiah Smith had 118 yards. Like, Ohio State has freaky wide receiver after freaky wide receiver, and we keep going like that. You can't get better than him. You can't get better than him. Now, like, the new benchmark is Jeremiah Smith, because I told you, we talked about this a little bit, Brent, before the season. I had him as one of the surprise players of the year because I talked to a guy that recruited him and said, Julio Jones and AJ Green. And I said, what does that mean? They're like, that's the only two guys I could compare him to coming out of high school. Like, he's that kind of good. And I mean, my gosh, like he has proved it. Ohio State has figured out exactly who they are. They're not going to try to pound you up front. They're going to pull. They're going to misdirection. They're going to spit it on the perimeter. By the way, great job bringing Jeremiah Smith across the formation, getting him the football in space. Great job getting their playmakers, creating space. And Ohio State, man, clearly the favorite. I don't know how much they're going to be favored against in their next ball games. It's going to be a lot. Like, they're going to be the favorite the rest of the way. It's not even close. They just took apart the best team in college football all season.
And we said this at the beginning of the season. They had the best roster, likely, top to bottom, in terms of number, all the guys that came back, the number of pro players they have. It's the best roster. And now that you have 12, by the way, because they wouldn't have been in a 4-teamer, you get to reset. And I still
think that's awesome. Like, everybody wanted different teams, not Ohio State, Georgia, and Bama. And because you did the 12 team, you got Ohio State in, and they got a chance to win it.
But the element that you brought up, I think, is one of the big elements that you're seeing when you have talent discrepancies. It's the time element. And when you give the more talented team more time to prepare and more time to rest, guess what they do? They play better. And you're not seeing the ebbs and flows or the randomness that maybe you see in the regular season. Now that they have all this
and not
extra
everything's created equally, right? Like, some people had harder games the week before. Some people had easier games the week before. So now it's a level playing field. But interesting to your point, Brent, like, the teams that had buys are off to a horrible start.
Yes.
Like,
Ofer.
Now, all of them.
Two of those were double-digit underdogs.
Yeah, two of them double-digit underdogs, but obviously Oregon was an underdog. But so far, if this is an indicator for spinning it forward to Georgia, like, that's That's an interesting thing, the rust and the time off that it takes. But interesting. Ohio State's defense has been great all year long. Like, they didn't lose the Michigan game because of their defense. Their defense is so great. Senior laden, experience laden. They're doing a better job of protecting their back end. If you watch that football game, cornerbacks bailing like crazy, staying on top of routes. Great job by them. Less man-to-man, more exotic. Like, just they've been a great defense all year, and they have so many answers to the question. And it's pretty simple. When 44 and 33 rush the passer like that, which they didn't in the first Oregon game, 0 sacks in the first Oregon game, but pressure on the quarterback with them winning, making disruptive plays, making it hard with that back end. Caleb Downs, we talk about him a lot, just an eraser. I mean, but they've got so many experienced, really, really good players. And that's why.
And no Evan Stewart for Oregon. Like, Holly Rowe mentioned it, like, he got dinged up in warmups. I mean, he had his uniform on and just didn't play. Like, that guy was a difference maker for their offense. And you combine him and no running game. So,
well, and James got hurt. James got dinged at the running back spot. So either way, I don't think Oregon could have brought back Marcus Mariota and whoever, Michael James and whoever they wanted to. They got their arse kicked. Ohio State just shut everybody up. Everybody that had any doubts. They're the best team in the sport right now. It's not even close. They're on a heater. They're doing it against playoff teams now too, which is crazy.